today with Bill Goosic. The so many things Bill's done besides being a member of the Goosic Speed Equipment family. Bill is the leader of our Arizona Drag Racers Reunion. He's the one of the purveyors of Arizona Drag Racing Hall of Fame. And we're so happy to interview him today because this Arizona Drag Racing Legends is Bill's things. It's his brain trust. It's what he's really wanted to do. He's really had this in mind for a long time, and it's Bill that's put out this all together. So this is gonna be fun with Bill today because very, very visible guy still in the racing community in Phoenix. Has a passion for it. But let's find out about where it's Bill from and what he did. But thanks for being here with us today, Bill.
Thank you.
So, where were you born?
Phoenix, Arizona.
You're a native.
Yes.
It's often said if you take the T out of native, it spells naive.
I guess.
Okay.
Pretty much.
You're
yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah.
You born into a family of racers.
My dad, my uncle. And
did you know anything else?
Not really.
Did you play any sports when you were a kid other than being around cars?
No. Tried baseball, a couple of things, and it just wasn't my thing. So, yep, drag racing has been what I've done.
You felt the need for speed.
There you go.
The story of your family is an awesome story of their history in the valley, and every one of your family members has been a big part of that.
Very proud of them.
You started off, your mom and dad opened a speed shop, and you being the oldest son were probably brought into that. When do you remember first starting working in the family speed shop?
Probably when I was about 12 years old, about 1962, somewhere like that. We had we had a store at 8837 North Central is where they started out. I can remember washing windows and just hanging around there. So that was something that Dad started doing after he worked his regular job. So then we would go there from like 5 until 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night and talk with the guys and sell T-shirts and take orders for parts and such as that. Yes.
So you were the Racer Central in the early days before the real full line speed shop, and
right.
People came to you. Do you remember any of the racers and anybody that you said, "Wow, that's such and such," or who were the big names back in the day besides your dad, of course?
The Seifert brothers, Huey Wilson, Steiniger and Ischenbaugh, Lyle Fisher and Red Greth from Tucson with the Speed Sport car, Fred Blackmore, lots of them that just don't come to mind right now. But yeah.
As a 12-year-old, young pre-teen going into your teen years, you had a chance to grow into that business.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What kind of cars before you had your own cars? What kind of cars did you like watching the most? There was roadsters, dragsters.
Roadsters and dragsters. Yeah, that was the thing because that's what Dad was racing, so that was what I was involved with. Yes.
So did you help your dad at the races with the car?
Sometimes when he would let me.
What was your first big chore working on the race car?
I don't really remember. I kind of just went to the races and just hung around. And, my dad was the kind of a guy, if you want it done right, do it yourself. So he didn't really delegate too much to too many people. But yeah, and built my own car and started doing things on my own.
Tell me about your first car.
First car was my 55 Chevy that I had with a small block Chevy in it. It was a Formula 4B hot rod car or something. Had a Rochester fuel injector on it, which Dwayne Jacobson, who had a Superstock car, and talked me into putting the fuel injection on it instead of a Carter carburetor. So.
Did that change your class from going the fuel injection over the carburetor, or was that because in AHRA they had?
It was AHRA. They had all
formulas and this and that.
All kinds of different things at different points. Yeah.
So how long did you remember? How long did you race that car?
Probably 2 or 3 years, till one Saturday night out at Beeline. I mean, it was a 3,000-pound 55 Chevy, had 8-inch M&H tires on it. Went out, made a pass, pulled second gear, saw the tower for the second time and said, this ain't good. So straightened it out, drove it, and decided to sell it and buy a dragster that one of the guys that hung around the speed shop, Dom Damiano, had. Bought that, put the small block in it with a carburetor on it, and went on from there.
The name of that car was?
The Hood,
The Hood.
yes.
And
Because Damiano was a Italian guy, so that's what he had on it. That's what it ended up with when I got it.
had great cowl art on it and such. I remember that
Yep,
car.
yep. Gary Lindy did all the work on it, yes.
So you went off to do that. Do you remember first time in the dragster and what
Yes.
your expectations were? And
Yeah, when I made a pass and spit oil out of the rear sealer, the distributor or something got it all over my goggles, and it went like 12 seconds or something, just wiping oil off of my face so I could see where I was going.
felt like a real racer all of a sudden.
Pretty much.
You were brought into racing the right way with a little oil
Right.
on the face mask.
Yep. Yep.
So you raced that car in AHRA.
Yes.
What tracks do you remember going to with that car?
Beeline, Mel Larson's, Tucson Dragway, Winslow. And that was pretty much it.
So along the way, there's several people besides family. You had several friends that helped you with the car. Do any
Sure.
of those people still stand out that that were friends before that also they helped you with the dragster?
Oh, yeah, mate. I mean, Darryl Parrott, who had just passed away, he was a good friend. He helped with a lot of things. He drove my car a couple of times when there was questions about what was going on. I mean, even the Carter brothers were good people to deal with, and they were highly competitive and didn't like helping people that they were racing against, but still did it. It was different back then. Dwayne Jacobson, he's the one that had convinced me to put the Rochester fuel injector on it instead of the carburetor. Just
What engine was in there?
in the 55 was a
No,
six.
in the dragster.
Oh, and the dragster was a 301 Chevy.
In transmission.
It had a BorgWarner 4-speed cut down to made into a 2-speed.
So it had its own. Did it have reverse? Or did you have to push that
I
back?
had to push it back. Yeah.
The fun of looking at everybody looking at you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, listen to everybody complain about it when they came back that it was too hard to do, and so. Yep.
Your first passes were at Beeline.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
And as you grew up, you Beeline, Tucson, Winslow, old Tucson Dragway, of course.
Right.
I know that you raced a lot down in Tucson. Did you like that place? I mean, what was it about Tucson that you liked?
The people, the place, it was basically the home track. So yeah, in 1971 I was driver of the year, which was pretty much quite an accomplishment because Tucson was a pretty cliquey place and they took care of their own. It kind of upset some of the local Tucson comp racers that were there that I had won it, and, instead of one of them. So, yeah, but life went on.
You weren't going to apologize for winning, right?
No, there you go.
So, you had the first dragster. Where did I know that you went to Camelback High School.
Yes.
Did you have any friends in high school that raced as well, or people you remember that?
The Freeze, Buddy Free, Ralph Free, they raced. Yes, that's the only other ones that I remember. I don't think there was anybody else at Camelback that had a race car at that point. So
But you had like you and they had the shared love for racing, and that's kind of got you through the.
yes,
Being at school, I have a buddy that does this, and
Right.
we know each other. So you went on in the family business, and you had to bring on who was responsible for training the new family members as they came into the business.
it was a family thing. I mean,
Right.
Dad pretty much, and Mom, and yeah, I kind of was the oldest son, so I had to set the example as to what was going on. So, yeah, and, I mean, I'd forgotten my name was Bill. My dad, I just was damn it son for the longest time. I couldn't remember that I was Bill. So
Well, I guess that's not too bad as long as he was consistent with it, right?
numerous times that I was fired by my father, but then again, I came back at 8 o'clock the next morning and opened the place up. So, but that's just part of being the oldest son.
So you're racing. You went on and you drove a couple other cars.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about all the race car, the other race cars.
My brother Jim had a old Top Fuel car that had belonged to Joe McKee, the Up and Smoke car that he had bought. So we took that car, and Yule Barnes and Mike Finley had a blown small block Chevy. We put that in and raced it, 3 or 4 weeks. And
Anything exciting happened in that car?
yeah, I kind of ran into a telephone pole at 170 miles an hour at the end of Tucson Dragway. Broken arm and a mild concussion, was in the hospital for 3 or 4 days. Could have been worse than a street accident.
It was the blessing of the safety equipment even back then.
Yes, and the people that were there to help me. Yes, my brother and yourself, Chris, and Mike Finley, and Yule Barnes, and my wife Janet at the time. Yep.
So you drove that car, and of course, Jim, I'm sorry, I put a ding in the
Right.
car.
Yeah.
You rebuilt the car.
Right. Yeah, I was kind of mad because it had a set of Hellebrand mag wheels on the back with a brand new set of tires that we had just put on for that race, and it tore those up, so that wasn't really a good thing.
A typical racer. Yeah, I'm okay. What about the car? Right?
Yeah, well,
So it was Jim's car, and then you moved on, and what other car did you tell me about your rear engine dragster?
yeah, had a rear engine dragster after that we bought. Put a big block Chevy in it with a Linco 3-speed and 2 carburetors on it. So we raced that for a while. That was a AH or A dragster, I think it was. We did okay and wanted to go faster, so we ended up putting a blower and running it as an alcohol car. A good friend of mine that was partners with me that had some stuff in it, Jim Clifford at the time, and raced that for a few years. Started a Arizona Alcohol Association. We raced it at Beeline and put on some different races. It was an 8-car qualified field. We usually had 12 cars. We raced alcohol dragsters and alcohol funny cars in it. That was a lot of fun. Did a lot of learning in that deal. Had Checker Auto Parts involved in it. They gave me $500 every race that I had. Plus, I had other sponsors from the speed equipment manufacturers that we were dealing with. They would give me jackets and T-shirts and different things like that to give away. I'm thinking that it was paying on a Saturday night win for an 8-car show. The winner would take home $400 and the runner-up would take home $200. And I think NHRA at the time was paying $1,200 for a national event. So it was a pretty impressive deal. Had a lot of fun there.
Who are your key competitors in that association?
Oh, Trovan Evans, Mike Jameson, Jim. Can't think of the guy that had the funny car now, but yeah, and Ron Lux from Tucson. Yeah, that was pretty much it.
So this association really came along at the early days of the
Pro Comp.
Pro Comp, which then became split up to be
Right.
the funny top alcohol funny and top alcohol dragster. But
Right.
back in those days, you raced together.
Yes.
What was your favorite race? You tell me about what's your most memorable event with that car?
Racing in Las Vegas.
Okay.
Did the burnout, backing up, the sprag broke on the transmission, pushed the clutch in and the car just kept backing up. There was a fence behind the starting line at Vegas. I'm grabbing brake, fuel shut off, and hoping it gets stopped before it goes through the fence behind me.
That was the old aerodrome wasn't it? Or that was the old
No, that was the Vegas Speedway.
big roller cave. That was the track prior to the.
Right.
Oh, but still by the Air Force Base.
Right, across the street from where they are now, yeah.
And I seem to remember being at a race at Beeline one time, seeing you push your car
yeah.
down the track. What happened?
Yeah, that was before it was a blown car. That was when it was still a carbureted car. Yeah, you had to push start back then before they had the static starts, and make the loop come around to stage it. And it was a 280-inch car, so it took a little bit of a distance to get it there. My dad was behind me. Of course, I couldn't see anything. He was trying to push the car back. I had gotten it around. I figured, okay, it's close enough, so I'll just blip the throttle a little bit, bring it around. Wing knocked him down. He was quite upset. He didn't talk to me for a couple of weeks after that.
Did he fire you again for that one?
Probably. Yeah, glad he didn't get hurt, but it just kind of embarrassing to him that would happen up there. So.
But the good story is your family was involved.
Right. Yep. Yep.
As people remember your family being involved.
Right. Yep. All my brothers were all involved, and my sister was involved in the business. My mom, of course, and they came out to the races and watched when we raced. So.
Tell me about your reunion and how it got started and how it's grown.
Yeah, it started in 1999. I had a little gathering at my mom and dad's house, and there were probably 20 people there, and it was just so that my dad could stay connected with his old friends that he had known from racing. And over the years it had just grown bigger and bigger. I think the last one we had probably 500 people there. That was at Bear Break. Of course, we had a air raid filter company, had that for a couple of years there, and that was a very good experience. Yeah, everybody just gets together. We don't have any races. We don't have any. We do a cackle now, but that's on a timed deal. So you can walk around, talk to your friends. Everybody can communicate without having to scream over the top of somebody's car, and that's what it's about, all the friendship and the camaraderie among the people.
So initially it started off with small group of
yeah.
friends, and
It was a potluck deal.
Yeah, potluck, and it kind of outgrew your parents' house, but it was what I've seen over the years, and I think the great thing about it is now that it's not just that first generation of racers. It's the second and third generation of racers, and open to anybody who even is a race fan during those times to come in and see it, because it is quite an experience.
Right.
You have done it, the great job. One thing I've seen over the years is that, as we go through life and people have friendships, and they have people who probably were not enemies, but they were rivals.
Yeah.
You see people getting together to show up at that event that actually sat down and talked and had a great time.
Right.
You have any of those to come out in mind to you that you can remember somebody showing up to it and meeting with somebody else and just having a good time sitting and talking?
Well, while I was still at Mom and Dad's house, Johnny Loper was on our T-shirt, and he came to my Mom and Dad's house, and that was probably a pretty good accomplishment, because there was quite a bit of rivalry there when we were all in the speed shop business together. So, yeah, that I think was one good accomplishment, was to have Loper there. So.
I remember that, and I definitely think people were like, turn their head and say, wow, Dayton, it does work.
I think even my mom and my dad did the same thing. So yeah.
But that's the great thing about this, and going forward, it's what you want to keep that feeling going forward. Is just that a lot of people don't race anymore, but they still have the friendships and the relationships. So for this year, we're filming this in the year 2020. Unfortunately, it's been a crazy year with our COVID experience and our social distancing, and normally the event's held in the springtime, but you've had to put it off to the fall. I don't want to date this video, but this is 2020, and you're going to have this event coming up in the end of November.
Yes. November the 28th, it will be at the Phoenix Go-Kart Racing Association track, 43rd Avenue in Pinnacle Peak, and we're hoping for a good turnout. I mean, I understand that things are different, so we'll do this one on November the 28th, and then we'll push forward to March of 2021, and everything will be done great and back to our normal situation.
A lot of work on the. I know you do the Arizona Drag Racers Hall of Fame. You also have sit on the Arizona Racers Hall of Fame, which is probably more circle track type of deal. How does it feel that that people value you in the people you know in your abilities and who you are to sit on those committees?
Makes me feel very well, very, very good. I'm proud to be able to bring the people that need to be brought attention to bring attention to them, and to do what's necessary to get them into the halls of fame.
The Drag Racer Hall of Fame will go on. The Arizona Racers Hall of Fame is going on. They continue to happen. I'm sure that you get people contacting you. How do I get this person or that person in the Hall of Fame?
Oh yeah.
How does somebody make that happen? Or at least bring their name up.
Right. Well, they need to, the contact with me or somebody involved in that. Yes, that's what needs to be done. Kind of try to prioritize it depending upon health issues and what you've accomplished in racing. Also, that's a big priority as to what happens. You get people that say, "Well, I knew somebody that raced at Beeline." That's good, but that's not a criteria to get into the Hall of Fame. You kind of need to have raced a car, maybe won a race or two, and just be a racer.
So, if somebody's interested in what's going on, you have for they to contact you. You're on Facebook. You're a pretty easy guy to find. You're still out there and involved and doing things. The Drag Racer Reunion has its own website now.
Yes.
We'll make sure that we put a video up. We'll put the web address up on the video here.
Good. Yes.
Anybody who's interested in that, there's information there. A lot of ways to get a hold of Bill Goosic. He's probably one of the busiest retired guys I know. Okay, he's been a mentor and a friend to a lot of people through the years. And is there anything about racing you miss, or what?
The friendships, the just talking to the people, knowing people, meeting new people. That's I'm kind of a people person.
Very much so. Well, Bill, first of all, as collective of everybody, thank you so much for your efforts for the Hall of Fames, the reunions, and the drag racing legends. And you are a drag racing legend. You are, and you should be very proud of that. And we appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk to us today.
Thank you.